Good morning. I'm Jen Amos at Weiss Research.
I'm Andy Myers, and this is your morning market alert for Tuesday, February 15th. Stock futures are pointing to a relatively flat open on Wall Street as investors digest data on January retail sales, import and export prices, and manufacturing in the New York region. Later this morning, a reading of December business inventories is due out, along with the National Association of Home Builders Housing Market Index for February.
European investors are also reacting to some positive economic news. Gross domestic product in the Eurozone expanded by 0.3% in the fourth quarter, compared to the previous 3 months. And a measure of economic sentiment in Germany edged higher, suggesting investors there are still confident about the recovery in Europe's biggest economy. That's helping to push the markets across the continent mostly higher. They're also getting a boost from banking stocks. Barclays is gaining about 5% in London after posting earnings that topped expectations.
Weakness in mining stocks around the world is offsetting some of those gains in Europe. Companies that rely on demand from China are reacting to a report on inflation in the world's second largest economy. Chinese consumer prices rose 4.9% in January, which was above December's level but much lower than the 5.4% increase forecast by economists. Japanese and Taiwanese investors were relieved that the number wasn't higher and pushed stocks in those markets to modest gains. But shares in Hong Kong retreated on worries that price pressures in China will remain high and that booming consumer demand will keep policymakers focused on taming inflation.
On the corporate front, keep an eye on shares of FedEx today. The shipping company said last night that its earnings for the current quarter will come in well short of expectations. FedEx blamed the brutal winter weather and rising fuel costs for the shortfall. That's important because FedEx is often seen as a bellwether for the rest of the economy. We're also watching shares of Quest Communications today. It posted a loss of $161 million in the fourth quarter versus a profit of more than $100 million a year ago.
One big stock loser this morning is Sirius XM Radio. It's tumbling 6% right now after reporting a fourth quarter loss. Sirius XM's revenue and subscriber numbers were fairly strong, but higher operating expenses weighed on the bottom line. After today's closing bell, we'll get quarterly results from Dell and Analog Devices. Dell shares are modestly lower ahead of the news, but Analog Devices is rising about 2%. It's also being helped by a stock upgrade from JP Morgan. Meanwhile, JPM cut its rating on rival chipmaker Linear Technology to neutral. That's the latest from Weiss Research. We'll be back after the opening bell with all the economic data and market reaction.